Go live. We're live. There it is. Awesome. So, hey everyone, welcome to the No Decaf podcast. Today, we are joined by our special guest, Tolly and Whitney from theblinkdate.com. And today we're going to be going over why having two different opinions or personalities can work and how it works and why it's relevant and how you can kind of move past all the scenarios and issues and stuff that they faced, especially with having kind of like the yin and yang going on with their startups. So without further ado, Tolly, Whitney, welcome to the No Decaf podcast. So tell us, how did Blink or the Blink Date start? How did you get the idea?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having us. We're so happy to be here and tell you more about Blink. So how the idea came up. So it actually came to me in 2012. So it's been 8 years since I had the idea. And it started after I went to a blackout restaurant, and we were seated with another couple, even though we were told we could talk to them if we wanted to. We didn't have to if we didn't want to. It was communal dining. We couldn't see them.
That's awkward.
And through the meal, something just sparked conversation between us, and we had an amazing time. We shared all these crazy things, and we had no idea what they looked like. And after the dinner, they let us out, and I remember seeing this other couple and realizing, like, these people are nothing like what I would have thought based on our conversation. And had I seen them before the conversation, I probably wouldn't have had that same conversation with them, because I would have made assumptions about who they are, what they're like. And so it was this kind of moment where I realized just how much we assume about people based on these physical traits, whether it's their haircut, their shoes, their clothing, and how important it is to kind of get past that, and how different we are and how much more vulnerable we are when we aren't thinking about those things. And I thought, how amazing would it be if we could bring this into the context of dating, where people, especially nowadays with modern dating apps, we're making these snap judgments based on what people look like and their profiles. And it would be really amazing if we could see if there's a real chemistry there and a real connection between people in conversation, rather than make those split-second judgments based on looks and profiles. So that's where the idea came from. And here we are now in 2020 actually working on it.
Nice. And so Tolly and Whitney, so what are y'all's roles in the company?
Yeah, so I'm the founder, CEO, ideator, I guess, of the concept. And Whitney, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Whitney. I am the Chief Operating Officer. So that is everything that falls under there. They do handle marketing, legal, tax, fun things like that. And we kind of, we split the role on kind of creation of ideas and really figuring out how we're going to move forward.
Nice. And so fun fact, both of you are lawyers.
Yes. I'm a recovering lawyer, but yes, by education.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Fun fact, you're a lawyer.
I'm telling you, I would be like, the moment I found that out, I would just feel like I'm being interrogated the whole time. And I'd feel like I would need like an NDA signed, like, before moving forward with this conversation.
Did we not get that, Adam? Did we not?
I'm just saying, do y'all have like terms and conditions that they have to go on or they have to sign before they go on a date? Like, I just, that's kind of like my thought process on it. But it's a really cool concept. Because you're right. I mean, everyone does have like these preconceived notions, especially when I start talking, people think I look like Thor, and it's not just
Is that a bad thing? I feel like that would work in your favor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. It's kind of intimidating, right? But I think that's a really cool idea. And I think I read something somewhere that there's a rating system.
So essentially, the matching process, we'll go into that. It's a two-part matching process. The first part is a virtual blind speed date. So it's essentially a phone call via the app. And after the date, you tell us if you feel that there's a connection. And there's like a three options for doing that. And it's a no, there was no connection. I'm not interested in exploring this further. Yes, there was absolutely a connection and I'm interested in exploring it further. And then there's a middle ground, which is more aligned with real life of, maybe there's something here and I'm just not really sure yet. I need to kind of explore it a little bit more. And so we have a 3-part kind of system as opposed to, a binary yes, no, which you see in a lot of other dating apps. And then the second part of the matching process is the acknowledgement that love isn't blind. We know that the physical attraction is really important in a relationship. And so there is a photo kind of swipe function, but all you're seeing is a single photo. There's no profile, there's no name even, so you don't know if it attaches to anyone you've spoken with. And the idea is really for us to see, would you be interested in continuing a conversation with this particular person if there was a connection? And so we're separating that physical from that personality, because personality is really more important. And science shows that the most passionate relationships aren't built on immediate attraction. They're really built on attraction that's developed over time. And so we do take into account that physical attraction, but not in the same way that other dating apps do.
So how did both of you come up with these steps? Like, what was there, like, it has to be 3 steps. And then Whitney was like, no, there has to be 2. And you're like, no, it has to be 3. And she's like, you know what? There should be 4. Like, I mean, was there any like
that
going on?
It's interesting because it's such a unique idea in a really crowded marketplace, right? So I think, it's no secret that we have really big competitors in this place. And so when we sat down and we looked at, all right, what's Bumble doing? What did Tinder do? What is Hinge doing? What are these big apps doing? And how can we separate ourselves? How can we make something that's different? And I think organically, when we were thinking about that, it became clear that it maybe isn't always an easy yes or no. And that after a conversation, you're like, maybe. Or maybe you see a photo and it's a maybe, but you have an amazing conversation. We wanted to account for that and get those matches in there. And I think a lot of times when you are doing the standard swiping on some of those other apps, you really miss out on that middle ground that Tali's kind of speaking of. So I think it organically kind of came up for us. And now I think it's really one of our differentiations that, make us stand out.
Okay. And so what things what are some things that have come up, I guess, maybe in the beginning stages or, maybe in the middle or maybe now, like, what are some things that you guys have like gone back and forth on, and how did you make those decisions?
I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is the logo. And Whitney, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we had very different visions for what the logo should look like.
Okay.
And I think it comes kind of from our ideologies or backgrounds in general. Like, I'm a very practical person. And so I wanted a logo that was practical, that was very kind of apparent and also connected to our concept in a very obvious way. And part of that was also driven by, like Whitney said, us entering a very crowded market. I wanted people to be able to see our logo and know, okay, this is a dating app, but without being necessarily cheesy or what have you. And so it's kind of a fine line to dance.
Okay.
I'll let you speak for yourself, but had a very different approach in kind of thinking about our logo.
Yeah, I think, I was on the other end of the spectrum. I'm like, let's do something abstract. And we had this like whimsical kind of swoosh drawing that was meant to be a blinking eye. And I felt really passionate about it. I was like, I love it. Nailed it. We got it. We got the design back. And I was like, we need to do this. And we sampled a ton of friends because we were really at an impasse between the two of us. We were like, I was sticking my feet in the ground, in one way, and Tali was as well. And I think, out of that, we really sampled a lot of people and we got a lot of opinions. We tracked all of that data and kind of came to an agreement at the end. And now I have to say that I love our logo. I really think it works. And as the beta version of our app has come in and we've downloaded it on our phone, seeing that icon in the middle of all the other icons has been huge. And it looks so good. And I can actually admit that my whimsical little eye drawing swoosh probably wouldn't have looked as good on the app screen. So
fair enough. So is there a decision-making process that you have like came up with, whether it be like subconsciously or not? Maybe you don't even have it in writing. Maybe you're just like, all right, rock, paper, scissors, and then let's go. Right. Or maybe it's a legal agreement. I don't know. I mean, I don't know with you two. So like, what things have you come up with that have like been like the tiebreaker essentially of like, I like this, hard line in the sand, not budging?
I mean, my response is usually, because I know that I'm an opinionated person and I don't want Whitney's opinion to not be heard. And so sometimes in order to make myself step back from my opinion, I ask other people for theirs. And so in the case of the logo, like Whitney said, we just kind of polled a bunch of friends. And I think what we really discovered is that there was a mix of opinion, and some people liked abstract and some people liked practical. And so at the end of the day, that wasn't all that helpful because it just kind of showed that other people were aligned and thinking differently about it. And we just had to come to our own decision. But in some cases, it's really helpful to get an outside opinion and kind of get another person's perspective on it. And usually I don't give them any context. I'm just like, which do you like more? What do you think this means? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess maybe I'm the odd one out. Or I'll share it with Whitney and be like, well, this is what somebody else said based on this message. So maybe we should go this way. And sometimes I think maybe in some cases it results in us rejecting both kind of responses that we like both of our opinions and coming up with a new one. And so from my perspective, that's been a really great way to get a little distance from kind of it being Whitney versus Holly, so much as like what is really behind this and what do we need to be thinking about in making this decision. Whitney, I don't know if you have any other strategies, but that's sort of my approach.
Completely. I think it's so easy when you're in it and you come up with something or you have something, an idea in your head and you're so close to it that it's super important to kind of distance yourself. And I think for us, finding third parties, one, it serves two purposes. It kind of, splits the tie break, but also gets friends and family really excited about what we're doing. So it's just another excuse to be like, hey, check out, this side project or check out this logo or what do you, it gets us to be able to talk about it and get a really, really great feedback. That's super helpful.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you're almost kind of like, hey, do you like this? By the way, download it, right? Or go join. And so I want to ask a little bit more technical question because obviously that's kind of like the beginnings of it, right? Like, oh, the logo, oh, like what are we going to like? What's our branding going to be like? All that stuff. Now, what did you figure out first? Was it the branding or was it like we got to build this and we got to start building this?
I think we started with the technical while also thinking about the branding because the technical piece, it took us a few months to find a developer. Neither Whitney nor myself are technical. Neither of us can build an app on our own. And so it took a lot of time to find a developer that fit with kind of the things we wanted and also from a price perspective. And so we started that process while simultaneously thinking, okay, here's our company name. I think we didn't even know what our company name was going to be when we first started. But thankfully it took a few months. So we had some time to kind of identify our name, get our domain, do all of the other things, come up with our logo and our branding. So it was a little bit of a parallel process.
So with, and so who found the person to code?
I think they found me on Slack. I had posted asking about, it was in some workspace for LA, I think. And I posted asking, does anybody know any freelance developers? And he reached out and was like, hey, I have kind of a small shop here. And he manages a couple teams actually offshore, which actually worked really well for us in terms of kind of pricing and then having somebody here in LA. Well, I'm not here in LA right now, but having someone in LA on the ground with us that we could work with on our time zone who could really understand what we're trying to achieve. So it was a really great combination.
Yeah, and Whitney, what are your thoughts? Did you have any? Did both of you meet with the person? Because I know when I was first developing my software, I was really nervous. I was like, I kind of want to let this person do it, but then again, I don't want them to like run off of my idea and like rebrand this instead of it being the blink date, call it like the pink date, and like have like a completely total other different version of it. But once you get in it and you build it and you notice and you realize like execution's all that matters, and someone could have the same exact thing as you do. And if you execute better, you end up winning. Yeah. And that kind of goes out the window. But what was like your thought process? Were y'all like, maybe, I don't know.
It was really interesting because I think we met with like 6 or 7 different people. We met with a lot of people. And I think for Tali and I not having a technical background, it was really interesting, right? Like we didn't exactly know the questions to ask. And so a lot of the first meetings were kind of like practice, like not really interested, but you know what, like let's ask these questions. Like, what are the things we need to know? What do we need to be asking about? And Tali had a pretty good understanding of that. And for me, I was so lost in those meetings, to be honest, because, like we've talked about, I'm kind of business brained and kind of big picture and things like that. And so the tech side kind of confuses me, but for where we settled on Jared, in new tech, it was really clear that there was a relationship as well as a knowledge level. And so both of us felt super comfortable to move forward with him, which was really great.
Nice. Yeah. And I feel the same way. And because it's like, I could barely put like, I could barely write a text message out without putting like an acronym of like LOL or something like that. You don't want me like coding, an entire app.
No.
I mean, I thought I was going to be slick. I'm like, how hard can coding really be? Right. And so I took like I don't even know what it was. I think it was like a Python class. And it was like, make the duck walk 3 steps to the right. And then I couldn't make the duck walk 3 steps to the right. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't care what it costs. I'm going to pay someone. But then you started going into like, well, how do I know this person isn't like, maybe I need another person. So how much do I pay them? Like there's a lot of questions that you come in.
Right.
And that's when I came up with, working with an accelerator and they helped me out a lot. But I did find that having a project manager was like the biggest thing that I was missing. Because the project manager, they may not know how to code, but they know how to manage the project. Obviously, it's in their name, and they know who to look for, what the average rate is. Like, I feel like that would be another step in the beginning is getting a project manager and maybe even a consultative one where they're like saying, hey, I can't pay you bring on full time, but I can pay for some of your time. Like, what should I be looking for? And I feel like that's one thing that I really, really, struggled with. And I think a lot of people who are non-technical, like us three, who like, we have this great idea, but we have no idea how to go about building it, which is why this podcast exists, to be honest with you. And so what problems did you face in the beginning, versus what problems are you facing now?
I think in the beginning, it was mostly finding someone to build the app and finding someone within our price range to build it. So that was the biggest challenge and the biggest hurdle then. I think our biggest challenge now is getting the word out. It's, Bumble, Tinder, all of these big dating apps are out there. People use them. People like them. And we're kind of a new app, and getting the word out, getting users, and kind of starting that organic growth cycle is really hard. And so that's the biggest challenge I think we're facing now. And I think the other one that kind of goes hand in hand is funding.
Yeah.
We're self-funded right now. And in order to get kind of institutional funding, you need to kind of show the user interest. And to get the user interest, you need money to market to the users, because it's really hard to get the word out there. And it's not made any easier by the fact that dating apps and the dating industry in terms of advertising is regulated. And so advertising to users on Facebook, on Instagram, and so on is harder in the dating space if you're not a known entity, because your ads will get rejected because you're not a known dating partner. And so it's all this kind of cyclical problem that we're kind of in right now. And we're trying to find ways to get the word out in other ways and get past those barriers and find other ways to kind of share stuff on social. So that's the biggest thing we're kind of trying to tackle now.
Okay. And Whitney, I mean, is that the same thing for you? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a chicken and the egg kind of scenario, right? You got to have money to market, and you got to market to get money. And so, we're constantly going back and forth with that.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that we've kind of based our whole timeline off of the app development, right? So that was the first thing we did. And we said, okay, it's going to be ready on X date. And that's been our goal, to raise, money and to have marketing plans. Whereas, normally you might have a whole business plan well before you get into building the app and get it ready for launch. And so we've been really working on a pretty tight timeline that's purely based on when the app's going to be ready. And then once it's on the market, we'll do beta testing and get users and things like that. But I think once people see the concept, they're really going to see the value in it. And I think, once people realize that this product is different, it's really going to stick. And so it's just a matter of getting people to see that.
Okay, cool. And so right now, like how far out are you from the actual development of, actually, getting it released? Are you going to be on the App Store? Is it only going to be a desktop version? Will you have a desktop version? Like kind of what do you got going on?
Yeah, so we'll have an iOS and Android app, no desktop app.
Okay.
And we're hoping to launch later this year. I'm not going to give an exact date because I don't want to, inevitable delays happen when developing an app. And so
sure.
We're planning for later this year. So 2020 on the horizon.
So it's close.
It's close.
Yes, close.
You're close, Adam. You better be ready.
From now until I guess December.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
2 months, right? 2.5 months.
Yep. Nice. So that's like line drawn in the sand. That's when you're releasing it. I think that's a good start, because maybe if you did it on January or maybe even December 31, and people are like, new year, new me, I can't wait for those to start.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be great. It's always a classic. So I know advertising's been difficult, and obviously you want to get as many users saying, hey, I'm interested. Maybe I'm using something else right now, but it's only when like I'm bored. And it's not really goal-based, right? So like, how do you get the word out when you can't advertise on Facebook? Can you advertise on Google or no? Like, is there...
Whitney, I'll let you take this one.
I mean, so this is the conundrum, right? And
I like the decision-making process right there. Look at that. It's going down live.
That was an action there.
Yeah.
Whitney's our CMO, COO, CFO.
So, when I went to business school before law school, there was practical method, and that was so long ago that those don't apply anymore. And so now you really look at a lot of social media and things like that I wasn't learning about in school. So our biggest thing is to get really, great brand influencers that want to talk about our product. The important thing there is to be really careful with who we have represent us, because we want the right market, we want the right feel, and so that takes a while to kind of identify the right people and then get them to work with us and want to partner.
Sure.
Events and events would be great, and we're in a weird time now with COVID, where we can't really sponsor and be a part of that, but we would love to as soon as that starts back up. And doing really fun podcasts with people that are really interesting, to talk about tech, and we'll talk about dating and why we think it's important to date differently and to ditch that swipe culture,
Right.
And things like that. And so really just trying to organically get the word out, but be protective of the brand and our messaging at the same time.
For sure. Yeah. Cause I mean, you really got to take into account, like who is my target demographic? And I work with this on a lot of our clients as well. And I mean, literally when you think of like soccer mom, right?
Yeah.
Like what kind of car do you think they drive? A minivan, right? Cause that just instantly like just pops in your head, because you understand like that's that demographic. And if, if you get someone in there who's like maybe 18, who's like fresh out of high school, and they're just like, it's not the right demographic.
It's not the right fit. Yeah. I think and that's what we always say. We're like, Blink is not for everyone, right? Like, it's going to be for someone who wants to get vulnerable with us, who wants to, to put the time in, who wants to meet people and take a risk, and really want to make a real connection. So, I think there's still a hip and fun and young element to it. I think it's a really fun app,
Sure.
And it looks great. But we'll it's not for everyone, and that's okay.
For sure. And so, for the millions of people who are listening to this right now, do you have anything that you'd like them to know about your app, or kind of anything that's happening and how they can, possibly get on the waiting list? Because again, it's only 60 days out or so, right?
Yeah.
No exact timing.
Plus or minus.
Could be tomorrow. Probably not.
Could be tomorrow, probably not.
So is there a way for them to actually, check it out, get early access, before anyone else, so they can, try it and that sort of thing?
Yeah, right now we're hoping to get beta users, and just go to theblinkdate.com, sign up. There's a wait list there. Hit us up in our socials and we can direct you. And we're always happy to talk and answer questions as people have them, and connect with potential members. Love that.
So, and your social on everything, and this is like, what social platforms are you in? Twitter, I'm assuming on everything, right?
Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok too, but we're figuring that out still. Yeah,
for sure. So at theblinkdate.com, TheBlinkdate. Hopefully I spelled that right. Yes. So literally you can go there, you can go to theblinkdate.com. And if you want to donate anything, even $1, every dollar helps, especially when you're donating or trying to build a software company. It's definitely going to be wisely spent, and you could say you are a part of something of a tech startup. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the next Tinder. Maybe it'll be the next whatever. And you can say, hey, I helped them, get to where they are, and I'm like an initial adapter of their company. So I really appreciate both of you coming on here. Hopefully we have you on again, and next time, your app's going to be uploaded, you're going to be millionaires, and maybe I can, ask for donations that way. So
exactly, Adam. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have a great day, and I will hopefully talk to y'all soon.
Yeah.